Okay,
Hey,
cool.
welcome back to the Blue Collar Off-Road Podcast. This is episode 69. Today we are
Nice.
I'm just kidding, go for it.
I was gonna go with it, although it was a
No,
little
I was
low
way
effort.
too yeah, it was just like, like, fuck that.
Hey, welcome to the Blue Collar Off-Road
Hey, welcome to
Podcast,
the Blue Collar Podcast. How can
episode
I?
69.
All right. Well, in that
Nice.
case, three, two, one.
Oh, geez. Oh, that's not the right thing I downloaded. Oh my gosh, wow. Yeah, there's a whole lot of porn in here. Yeah, sorry. I'm currently over at Graham's house editing the episode, and I downloaded something. I thought it was the podcast episode, but Jesus, it's just a shit ton of porn. Hold on, hold on. We're getting there, and yep. Okay, here we go. All right.
Hey, welcome back to the Blue Collar Off-Road Podcast, episode 69.
Nice.
Nice.
I'm here with Luke, Cody, and Richie. Sorry for not introducing ourselves. Oh, I'm Graham, by the way.
Who are you?
Yeah, and so we don't have a guest this week. We've had a couple. I mean, at this point, I think it's been a handful of really just amazing guests. It's been super fun. Um,
I mean, we've been rolling on a basically guest streak for the last, what's it been, 3, 4 weeks now?
Something like that. And we've got a bunch more coming. I think there was just a scheduling thing or something going on with the person we had lined up for this week. But we got more people in the pipeline, more fun conversations to be had. But in the meantime, you're just stuck with the four of us. And we've got a couple things to talk about. I've been chugging along on my shit for the past 3 weeks, 4 weeks, that I haven't talked too much about. I know Richie is still. We were talking before we even started this podcast. Richie's still having issues with his motor, so maybe we'll do some quick live diagnostics on his shit. Try to figure out where that might be coming from. He's tried a few things. There's probably clearly more to be tried, but we'll see where that conversation goes. Cody's been buying shit, but in true Cody fashion. I
It's
don't
not
think there's
attached to the Jeep
there's
yet.
nothing to show for it just yet.
Not
Um,
yet. Gotta build it up, you know? It's
yeah,
kind of
and
like a weird case of herpes. You gotta wait for a little bit for it to actually do something.
you gotta wait for it to flare up before you can,
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
And then Luke's Jeep is in a puddle, so he refuses to work on it. His excuse is he doesn't want to drop a bolt, and then he'll have to dig for it in the puddle.
I told him
So
magnet fishing.
yeah, true. It's like a whole nother meta game to working on the shitbox. So
No. I love my shitbox and all, but my yard is an absolutely flooded mess, and I am not going to go and put it on the trailer to work on it because I don't want to have to deal with filling in welded rear diff 40-inch tire holes on a rental I'm hopefully leaving in 3 months.
fair,
So,
but I'm pretty sure we've got a trip in less than 3 months. So if you need to do any work, it's gonna have to happen in the puddle. So
well, it's gonna dry out soon, hopefully, so we'll be good.
all
The
right.
same thing about having no more snowstorms, but guess what? Thursday there's a snowstorm.
Wait, what? No
So,
fucking
yeah.
way.
Yeah, 8
There's
to
gonna
12
be
there's
another
a,
one?
yeah.
You
Oh,
suck.
Hey, it's not
sorry.
my fault. I mean, fuck it, overtime I'm in, but yeah, yeah.
Well,
I mean,
I
I
guess
might as well. Nah, you want me to get my shitty, sad story done?
if you want to start, you can start.
So just based off of last week's episode when I spoke about that my pulleys were all fucked up and whatnot, turns out it was my power steering pump. It had seized, and I decided to, finally take the plunge into getting the WJ V8 pump. Yeah, finally. I mean, stupid thing is so much money for what the fuck it is. I don't know why it's like $140 something for a stupid ass pump. Um,
Yeah, it's
but
not super cheap, but it is an important component. You kind of need power steering.
No, you
yeah.
don't.
But and not to mention, why is a fucking belt for a Cherokee $60? Why?
A belt?
In what world? Yeah,
I
that
thought
was
you
like the
got
most
like crazy
expensive.
discounts. I thought that you were
I
like
did. That's with
discount
the
man.
discount. Usually it's so I don't get as crazy anymore, sadly. The boss man over there started to, chop it up a little bit when seeing those transactions go through. But But yeah, so and I'm on the hunt for a stock Cherokee pump, and I'll pump steering box. Let's go
I
start
have a
getting that
few.
process going.
I have a
You
few
do?
boxes laying around that need. I have seal kits and I have junk boxes. They just need to be rebuilt. Um,
Okay, shit.
I might be able to build you one. I'll let you know.
All right, well, we could definitely figure out something. If you could, that'd be sweet. Because I mean, otherwise, I'm just gonna have to continue the search, which really isn't the end of the world.
Yeah, I mean you can find a stock box for
Yeah,
really cheap, and that's what you want. You don't want a reman, in my opinion. If even
you've said that before, and that just seems like kind of crazy. Is that true that remans really just aren't
a
good?
reman from a parts store, if you go to O'Reilly's or AutoZone or your whatever, you're gonna get a junk box. In my experience, they just don't last. They have more slop than your factory box will probably. Uh, Half the time they put the fucking shaft or input shaft splines on upside down. So then you're putting the box in, you get it all lined up, and you go and look at the steering wheel, and it's 180 degrees out of whack, and you're like, what the fuck? So you got to change the steering shaft. It's just a pain in the ass. Like I don't know. It's
That's a pain. That's
yeah,
horrible.
because whatever they do, I've never been satisfied with the rebuilds. They always blow up, and when they don't blow up, it's just they're sloppy and gross, and they're just poorly rebuilt. So you're better off just getting a stock box and working with that because chances are it's fine.
110%. 110%, that is the most truthful thing too, because everybody says, "Oh, the Durango box is an upgrade. Oh, it's so good." It literally has given me nothing.
Yeah, I wouldn't
Nothing.
bother. I mean, there's nothing. Is there any difference?
The shaft size on a Durango box is more like is bigger
What
diameter.
shaft?
The output
Sector
to
shaft?
where it goes to is it a sector? I don't know. The fucking shaft that goes out to where your pitman arm goes to. What's that
Mm,
called?
that's the sector. No, that's the yeah, that's the sector shaft.
Yeah, so
Uh,
up in the actual um box supposedly it's thicker.
I don't know what
But my guess
I
it's
haven't
like
seen one said.
data 44 to 88 kind of difference where it's barely a fucking difference. So,
I'd be curious. I mean, if anybody listening actually knows the difference, that'd be kind of interesting. I feel like all those box swaps have always been like just a shoe in. It's like, oh, let me take this box out of this different vehicle that happens to bolt in, and it's an upgrade. It's not an upgrade, I don't think.
no, it's like the same thing. I
You
mean, they're
might end up with
practically
like,
the same weight with the same motor and do the exact same thing. So, like, why would it be anything of an upgrade? You know?
yeah, I mean, you might have slightly different ratios in there, but I don't, even then, I don't think it'd be worth it. You're better off just keeping the stock ratio, unless you can find a box that's like significantly better or does something different, like the Astro box, which is just reversed so the pitman arm's forward. If you're trying to do a crazy stretch, which if you listen to the Chris Action Fab episode, you'd know that that's not really what you want to do because you want the front axle underneath the engine, so all your front weight is on the front tires, so you can go up things. It's kind of beneficial. Um, and it's not really worth it unless you're trying to do something interesting, which is always appreciated. But yeah, I don't know. I think stock is just the way to go. You're wasting your money otherwise.
So,
Um,
with that being said, could we take my current Durango box and rip it apart and use it in case we need parts for uh the XJ boxes if we think they are similar enough?
I mean, there's probably not much of a difference. It's all the same style of box. We could
Mhm.
probably just tap that one if it's not. Again, if the ratio's the same, then why not? That's going to be the biggest
Fuck
thing
it.
is make sure you still have what a Cherokees have. I think it's I want to say it's like a turn and a half. I could be totally wrong. It's like 3 turns and a half lock to lock or something. I think you get a little bit more than you go one full turn, and I think you that doesn't sound right. I don't know. The ratio on the Cherokee boxes is fine though. I don't know about the Durango boxes, but assuming it's the same, there's probably no difference in how you'd tap it. So we could just do that.
Okay, well, I mean, I think the tried and true is always the best answer. So I'll just get rid of the box and not have to worry about it. Not to mention it's already stripped out, so like it's kind of
You
kind of
fucked it
dead
up already?
anyways. Yeah,
Oh
when
yeah, yeah. No, just throw
Yeah,
bolts on the
when
inside. Or sorry,
I mean
nuts on the
nuts.
behind the feet. You
Well,
just
then what we'll do is we'll pull it apart and we'll see what we can do with it. If it's something that we think we can work with or that we can use to rob parts from or something of the matter, then we'll go from there. But at the moment, I mean, I think a Cherokee box is probably better. But if it works, it works. Fuck it, right? But how
I
do you
mean, don't
fit?
spend more
How do
money
you?
than you need to. You have the other box, like. But yeah,
That's
anyways,
true.
Sorry, what did I
we'll
miss?
We're talking
Durango
about
boxes.
the what's the difference between the Durango box and the Cherokee boxes if there's actually a difference.
Slightly bigger selector or sector shaft bearing, and that's about it.
Yeah, so
I
no
really
So
don't
difference
get that much.
because
uh,
anybody running a steering box with hydro and big tires and a big axle should have a uh, pillow bearing on the bottom of the sector shaft anyways, so who cares what size the bearing that the thing that's inside the thing is.
Or hydro, because hydro's cool.
Yeah, but
yeah,
it
but
also
Not
will
everyone's
brace you.
cool enough for hydro.
Well,
no, but Graham is 100% right. It's still nice because it's still going to cause like not tension, but it's going to cause pressure on the sector shaft as it goes back and forth. Anyways, like it's going to cause it to flex. So having that structure there will be pretty nice.
Yeah,
But
it just
either
supports
way,
it from the other side. But yes, continue.
either
sorry.
way, it's just time to get shit rocking and rolling. You know, I'm at a better spot now, so things will get rocking and rolling. And I'm definitely definitely trying to plan for at least Badlands, a few runs in between, and making sure that 110% it's down at Roush this year. Those are my goals right now. I know it's crazy that like usually we wheel way fucking more, but life sucks. So like,
Nah, I've said it before in other episodes, but there's like a point in where you start wheeling more and you end up more concerned with the bigger trips, with the bigger, I'm not gonna say memories, but like the fonder memories behind them. Like for example, I could probably spend a lot more time at AOP than I'm going to this year and a lot more time at Windrock, but I'm also more excited to go up to Roush for Roush. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where, to me, that is worth more than getting in a bunch of smaller trips because I'm going out there and I'm hanging out with the people I don't get to see often.
yeah, I
Yeah,
mean that's fair. That's 100% fair.
the small trips are fun too, though. I don't know. I still got a soft spot for the, hour and a half drive to a spot just to beat
I'm
on it
not
for like
disagreeing
three,
with
4 hours and then drive home. Those are always fun. Some of my
you're not going to
fondest.
hear any disagreement.
Yeah.
It's just that, like, right now, I can either do a bunch of small trips and I'm going to gradually break more shit, or I can go on the several scheduled bigger trips that we've got, which I'm more excited for.
Just
That's
build it,
kind of
build it better.
where,
That's just what you gotta do. You gotta break it and build it better.
I
yeah,
do, but we've covered this before. I'm not gonna keep harping on about the fact that like I'm I
you
need to
suck.
buy a better spot to
You're not
work
gonna
on it.
weld in the puddle.
Yeah.
I don't know why
Dude, just
not.
ground out to the puddle, you'll be mint. It'll be fine. Just grab a piece of metal, put the ground to it, and just shove it right in the puddle in the dirt. It'll be sick. I promise. It'll be fine.
It'll be
But
fine. I'm an expert.
once I have a spot where I can actually put the Jeep up and not have it be as big of a deal, whether it's borrowing some space at a friend's shop or if I have my own garage, I do want to do some hydro just because I'm sick of all my steering shit.
You're not gonna buy my
I'm still gonna probably buy those, but it might end up just getting full hydro and running the knuckles.
fair.
I
Yeah, we'll
don't see
see.
how there's any loss there.
No, I guess you're right. Steering is mint though. We'll see. It's but you, Sean, and now Jacob are all like chomping at the bit for my steering. So,
All right,
uh,
then
More
sell it to
steering?
them.
I might. I'm
Okay.
really I don't care. Just somebody give me the money for it, and they can have it. I'm not in any.
How much is it? I'll give you $5 right now. $5.
I was looking for like three because the Heims are good.
Oh,
The
that's fair.
you
That's
get the
totally fair.
knuckles. I've felt
Wait,
that
you get
was
the knuckles too for 300?
Yeah, the knuckles, the steering,
Oh, I thought it
and
was
all of
three
it.
dollars.
No, that's actually a stupid like that's a very fair price. Holy shit, dude.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm
I can
not good at
send that to you
pricing
tonight,
things
but
for me to I don't want to say make money off of them, but I always give people the stupid deals, and it is what it is.
So, but
Uh,
then again, that's the friend deal, so that's understandable. I'm kind of in the same boat too. Like I gave away my welded 825 that I had sitting in my yard for free because a friend of mine needed it, and I was just like, well, I have one. Here you go, bud. Like I'm
yeah,
not gonna really
I'm not
use
trying
it.
to make
Like
money off of all the
yeah,
parts. Like I'd rather them go to use instead of just sitting, right?
oh, is
It's
that
just
the axle I welded?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I was planning on
I
selling
never
it,
got
but
it.
no, he didn't want it. I asked him about it, and he was like, "Well, do you have a use for it?" I'm like, "I'll always have a use for an 825 welded axle. Like, why not?" And yeah, I ended up going to a friend of mine who needed it because he blew up his spider gears or whatever. So
Brandon?
yeah, yeah.
We
Yep.
hopefully he blows that up because
Yeah, oh, it's already making bad noises. So,
excellent.
yep.
Jesus.
So it's definitely one of those things.
Lovely.
Hmm.
I was hoping that something cool would happen with it, not that it was just a shitty axle to begin with.
Nope. So yeah, so other than that, just planning for those big trips. Like I think as kind of Luke was saying too, like you don't really you're not looking forward to the memories or this or that, but like you're also putting in the fact of like I'm spending $1,000 just to drive from here to Tennessee or something, like in Graham's perspective, why am I gonna go jeopardize that trip that I'm already putting money towards to go to Ma Bell for the 300th fucking time?
Now, let me tell you, every time we've gone to Roush, I've swapped a massive part the weekend before, or like the week before.
Yeah.
Which is
The
probably
first year, it
beneficial.
was the transfer case because it blew up on me after doing something somewhere, and I was driving it on the road, and I think same thing that was happening to Sam in his XJ when they were going out, they were in Arizona or wherever. It was the same thing. I only had four low or something. The shift collar just or the shift rail arm just disintegrated. The aluminum just was no longer doing anything. So
Mhm.
I just swapped that. That was easy though because it was just a 231. What did I break the second time? It was something dumb.
I
Um,
don't remember you breaking anything.
no, I
Like this.
did. I did something before we left.
Oh,
I
jeez.
don't remember what it was though. Um,
Not too sure.
I'll think about it while we keep talking here. Who's next? Who else has interesting things? I mean, other than I can go. Richie, do you want to go? Do we want to diagnose your shit?
Well, yeah, we can definitely diagnose my shit, but I just wanted to say like about the whole trip thing.
Hmm.
Sometimes you do end up having to dread the bigger trips just for getting there.
Oh, there's no dread. It's all happy good times.
I was looking at the route to get to where we're having our club meeting this weekend though. It's gonna cost me $130 just to get there and back if I take my truck.
Yeah, welcome to life, bud. Same. Yep.
So I'm trying to see if I can steal my in-laws' car.
Yeah, it's gonna be like a 3 hour rip for you. But maybe
Yeah,
2.5 or so actually. But yeah, definitely not a short ride. But I mean, we also haven't had a proper club meeting like this in probably 3 years. So
I've never been to a proper meeting.
we had one at
Haven't been
Harris
many.
Mountain. There was one that we actually had a proper good meeting. Um, so yeah, it's
See,
kind of
I,
it's
I
kind of
wasn't
worth
really
it.
counting that one.
Yeah, but that's like the most proper meeting we've had
I
in
don't
a
think
long
we've
time.
ever had a meeting where we haven't, and this isn't a bad thing. We've never
No,
met other than like I think the first time before the club was really a thing. We haven't really had any meetings that didn't involve wheeling. This will be like the first one where it's kind of like everybody just shows up and we're not wheeling, which is kind of a shame, but at the same time, I don't have a rig to wheel, so it is what it is. I don't care.
It's okay.
Yeah. I don't have front wheels. Jacob was telling me yesterday, he was like, "Oh, well, we can just wheel your Jeep around so we can put the transfer case in. We'll do it on the lift." I was like, "With what wheels? We have back wheels, not front wheels." Yeah, it's a mess.
Well, we don't expect anything else. Um, you know, it's to be expected in the status quo at this point.
Yep.
What? That it
Your
doesn't have
Jeep
any
being
wheels?
a mess.
Or okay, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I've never had it this far apart. I mean, I have. That's not true. But I haven't. I don't think I've ever pulled the motor on it. Everything I've done has been with the motor in. This is the first time it's been pulled entirely out of the chassis, and I've had it all open so I can see not the motor, but the that whole engine bay area.
Yep.
I need to
Yeah.
clean up more stuff in there. I rebuilt, or I don't want to say I rebuilt the 205 and the Eco Box, but I diagnosed the issues on both of them. If you follow me on Instagram, I posted a few stories on what I think was going on with the Eco Box. I've talked about it several times because it was, blowing my mind for quite a while. Pretty sure what happened was those teeth just got a slight bevel to them, along with that shift detent, which works. It's fairly tight, but I don't think it's nearly as tight as the factory shift lever on the 20 or the 231 in the case. I think it's a little lighter. I couldn't take the little arm that the ball rides on out to drill it out more. I would have taken a Dremel and just given it a notch in each spot where the ball's supposed to sit. Unfortunately, I can't do that because the way they set it up is there's a push pin, or not a push pin, but a what do they call them? A roll pin in there that you have to push out, but you can't push it out because it's right up against the back of the housing. So you're just pushing it into the back of the aluminum case. You can't get behind it to push it out the other way, so I'd basically have to drill it out and put a new one in. I wasn't going to do that. So I just cranked the detent down as hard as I could. If that doesn't end up working and I'm still having issues with it popping out, I'll have to call them and see if they can get me a stronger detent or see what the hell I'm doing wrong. I also swapped the inner section of the whole planetary housing because the shift collar and the inner teeth that connect to the planetaries, that's what was worn out on the 4 high side, or the high range side of the thing.
Mhm.
So hopefully with all new parts, it should work factory. It should be great. No issues. That's what I'm hoping.
That'll be sweet. So this is gonna pull a little bit from my work life, but if you can measure the size of the spring you need, you might be able to order what's called like a progressive die spring, and it's a flat ribbon wire spring where you can get them with pretty beefy coils. Like we had some that were, I'm gonna say like 3/16 of an inch, but it took almost 80 pounds to compress them.
Damn.
Oh, wow,
So,
holy shit.
and they're cheap as heck off of McMaster Car.
That's
Um,
where I was leaning if I end up needing a stiffer one. The issue is they use this. It's not a normal ball and spring detent with a push pin that holds it down like you'd find in a 205 or a 300 or something like that, or even a transmission. They've got the spring detents and such. Um, it's like a self-contained threaded detent that you can't take apart. It's got the ball on the end, which sticks out about halfway at max, and then the spring is inside of it, and the whole body of the thing is threaded, and it goes down in the hole. So I'm not
oh,
sure. There's no part number or anything on it either, so I'd have to probably call in WF and see what the hell it is to see if they could, if I could use whatever they have as a part number for it or whatever the hell it even is called. Uh, then I'd be able to go and get one with a heavier spring, or just swap it out entirely. But then I'd be concerned that the ball would fall out and just roll into the case because the way it's, I can show you a picture after. It's basically this. The arm is this W-shaped thing with two little slots, round slots with a little hump in the middle, and the shift rail just goes, it clicks between those two spots. There's no indent for the ball to sit in, so it kind of just, the only pressure against it is that the swooping motion to go over into the other section. And the ball, if it didn't have this self-contained housing bit that it's in, I'm pretty sure it could potentially roll off the side because it's a trough, not a hole.
You're gonna have to get me some more pictures of this and
Mhm.
some dimensions, but I'm almost wondering if we could make it so that there's a piece of like I don't know how deep the hole is in there, but
Mhm.
if we could get a piece of brass, I could put a taper over the face of it, and then we could use a heavier spring behind it. So, like, instead of having the ball be what's engaging, have a piece of brass that's got the appropriate cut to go over that section and then lock in there.
Mhm.
But I would just need to have better pictures of it so it wouldn't roll. It would kind of slide, and it would probably be stiff as hell to get in and out. But
I'd rather it be stiff than me have to hold it and, you know, basically hold the thing in gear for however long I'm driving sometimes. That's the other thing, is I could just put a fucking lock on the thing and say you're in high range and put a, some simple, it wouldn't have to be much. You could literally just put I could take a door, like, like a sliding door lock, right? Just with a little
Yeah.
pin. It's
Yeah.
literally all it would take. It would be super dumb. I wouldn't do it because it would be horrible. But you could, and that would hold it engaged. I literally barely have to put any pressure on the thing to keep it from popping out of gear. Again, I'm thinking that's because of that was an issue with the teeth on the gears, not the detent. I think with the pressure against it, it was moving it back, and the detent just wasn't meant to hold that sort of pressure. It's meant to just hold it in place, not meant to hold it with force against it. So we'll see. I'm hoping that's all it is. The only other thing I did to that whole transfer case combo was I tightened up the front yoke. It had come loose a little bit, so it was rattling. Um, I thought I was gonna have to take it apart because it was starting to rattle a little more than it had, and I was concerned maybe the idler needed to be shimmed because I just put the factory shims back in, but I did put a new idler shaft in, even though it all seemed fine. But then I saw that yoke was moving about a quarter of an inch, and I said, yeah, that's probably it. So hopefully that's all set. If not, I'm sure it'll go another 1,400 miles just fine before it needs to be taken apart again, which is
I
totally fine with me, as long as I don't have to look at it for a little bit. Um,
mean, that's going to be an improvement.
Or just fucking get rid of it.
why would I get rid of it?
Because it was a joke, and now you're calling me out. It was a fucking joke, and I didn't have anything lined up. Okay, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
well, yeah, no, I'm
Because
not getting
it's
rid of it.
trash.
You could get
It's
an
trash
Atlas.
and you're trash. That's
Why
why.
would I get rid of my superior transfer case setup for a
I bet an
junky?
Atlas would stay in high gear though.
Yeah, but I'd never get an Atlas.
I'm teasing,
Also, it
but
would
yes.
blow up because
No, it wouldn't.
it might.
It's an Atlas, dude. They're like bomb proof. What do you mean?
Yeah, I probably
Atlases,
couldn't blow one up. I'll be fine. Honestly, you're right. I wouldn't blow it up.
Perfect.
But
We have an answer.
I have this 205 EcoBox thing. I don't have an Atlas. If I were to order an Atlas, it would cost me what I could make two of my transfer case boxes for, and I wouldn't have it for another year because
Fair.
it's just the state of the world.
That's a
yeah,
fair
I
answer.
don't know what I could do with my transfer case and my budget range for that project at the moment.
Honestly, if you're okay with I mean, you should get some sort of low range box, but honestly, the 231 with an HD chain is, I never had any issues other than when I ran them out of fluid and this
My
ship.
big thing right now is that I can get another 231 down here for $100,
And they're easy to
125
swap.
bucks,
It takes 2
and I can
seconds.
swap it without pulling anything out of my Jeep except for the like dropping my cross member a little bit, which means I have to cut a couple of welds. But it's like I know that that motor is not staying in that Jeep long term. I know that 2021 and 2022 are just going to be shitty years for my Jeep. Like 2019 and 2018 were great years for it. 2021 and 2022 are not going to be as good. It's just the way it is. It's going to be wheeled, and I'm going to get it back to driving status before summer, but it's just not going to be as cool of a year, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, you moved and shit, and basically upended your entire operation, so understandable. I would just stick with the 231. That's honestly the one thing I do miss is now when I take mine out, I'm like, shit, Colin, I need to borrow your transmission jack, which I still need to give back to him, but I'm probably going to hold on to it for a little longer because I'm going to need to put it back in with that thing again. I can't just pick the thing up and heave it into place like I could with the 231.
Yeah, dude,
That
you
thing's
can
a
put a
fucking unit.
231 with a SYE on it in and out, and like, even if I'm doing it on my trailer, I've done it with Kish just drinking beers at my house when I was living in Harwinton for, what was it, 2 hours till I had the thing in and out.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that part.
When we did the transfer case on Ducky at my mom's house, that
Oh
was
yeah,
what?
just a couple of hours on the trailer.
Yeah, and we were drinking while we were doing that, so it wasn't even like.
Yeah.
And then we kind of forgot to put fluid in it and ran it for 2 runs. No problem.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fluid's optional. You only
really
need the
is.
fluid to cool it at high speed. Low speed,
No, not even.
forget about it.
I guarantee you, I mean, maybe it had a little bit of fluid, but I ran a 231 probably bone dry, or at least close to bone dry, because it was making abysmal noises for probably 6 months, and then it finally, like, it couldn't take it anymore.
Grenaded.
It didn't grenade, but it made a really sad noise and exit before my turn off the highway coming home from work one day, and it actually made it the whole way home. The only time it had issues was the next day when I tried to go to work. Because as it turns out, my way home from work is mostly downhill. My way to work is mostly uphill. And the uphill was enough to push that shift collar out of high range into low range, or just into neutral. And it turns out that you can't just have neutral and low range. So I was late for work that day.
Well,
Rip.
shit, I remember back in the day, Luke ended up running his Jeep low on quite a few fluids, and we discovered it right before a trip. And you know what? Topped everything off.
Just to clarify,
ran
can
like a
people
top.
hear that?
Yeah.
We got it's Robot Richie this week. I'm sorry, we said Richie. It's Robot Richie. Real
Sorry.
He's
Richie's
talking
not
in O and
available.
ones right now.
He's still understandable, but
Boop bop.
yeah, basically, yeah. So, bear with Robot Richie. We'll try to fix you on the fly here.
Listen, I can only exit and re-enter our Discord chat so many times.
I know. Well, where the hell even were we? We were low on fluid. Well, this is actually a great segue into the next portion of fixing my shit, which is the transmission. So, I've definitely talked about it on the podcast before. I'm going to mention it again. Just a common theme of the podcast, if you didn't know. I ran this AX15 that I'm running currently on maybe 3 bottles of water and about a teaspoon of oil back from Roush Creek, which is how far is Roush from Massachusetts?
6.5 hours or so for you guys.
Yeah,
Something odd miles.
I drove it about 6.5 hours, probably about 500.
80 miles an hour.
Yeah, all the way home, and didn't notice that it was only running on water till I got home. So I pulled it apart, and because I've been having issues with fifth gear recently. It was doing this weird rumbling in fifth gear, and when I put that fifth gear in, or no, I didn't do the. First off, you can buy a fifth gear for an AX15, and they always call it an upgrade kit. I don't know what the hell that means. I don't know if they changed
Probably
something.
an overdrive or some sort.
No, it's the same ratio.
Oh.
They say fifth gear upgrade kit. Like if you're gonna do your transmission, like change the fifth gear. I was like, no, there's no difference. I'm not buying that. So I didn't buy the fifth gear. And when I pulled it out with the gear puller, which is what they tell you to do in the instruction, like the OEM instruction manual for taking apart an AX-15. They said use a gear puller. Well, the gear puller doesn't grab it correctly, and it chipped the end of one of the teeth off when I
Oh
put it
my
in. So
God.
I was like, maybe that got worse, and it's just like a really bad tooth now. No, it just like it nibbled the edges of a lot of them. So a lot of the edges were just missing a tiny bit. So that was probably my rumble. But when I pulled it out, the first time I broke it, I didn't have the fifth gear upgrade kit or whatever the fuck it was. So I didn't I had to just put it back in and it was fine. Had no issues. But it didn't last that long clearly. But I don't think the water helped it. The bearings are still pretty good. I don't have time to buy a bearing kit. I got to get the motor and everything back together. Everything looked fine, was rolling fine. Nothing. There wasn't a shitload of metal in the bottom of the case or anything. The thing's got 300,000 plus miles on it already, and it hasn't blown up. I have another one if it does. It is what it is. I'm just gonna keep it going and make sure it's still running happy and call it a day. Um, the only other
I
thing,
say you pack it with grease and a little bit of like I'm talking a little bit of period blood. She'll run forever.
I don't know if it will. I mean, the
No?
grease would.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
No.
It'd be hard to shift. I don't know if synchros like grease.
It'd be like playing
Um,
with a stick in mud.
yeah, it'd be a little tough to shift. But that sort of leads me on to the other thing is that I haven't really complained about. I've never really had an issue with it, but my dumbass put the actual shift ring for fifth gear. It's so fifth gear is different than the other ones where it's flat on one side, or at least I think it's different. I haven't pulled the rest of it apart in several years. But the side that goes into the synchros has tapered teeth, so it can slide on nice. And the other side of the fifth gear doesn't have that. It's flat. Well, my dumbass put it on backwards. So the tapered side was doing nothing. It was just floating on the side that's supposed to have the flat end, and the flat side was being jammed into the synchros. And I'm actually surprised it shifted as good as it did. Once I got the hang of the finesse to get it in there, it would go smoothly. It wasn't too bad. The synchro was destroyed. So I had a new synchro with that fifth gear upgrade kit, so I threw that in there. It's on correctly now. We're just fixing our previous mistakes. So,
I mean, that's kind of like building a Jeep.
I mean, it's a
Eventually,
miracle
also,
it even drives. I mean, with all the little bullshit I find wrong with my shit, it is what it is.
you're telling me.
It's back.
Robot Richie?
Robot.
I don't know. You tell me.
No, you sound good. You sound
Yeah.
actually better than ever.
Okay,
We'll see how long it
cool.
lasts. We're just
It's
talking about
just scary restarting this thing.
why.
Why?
Well, because sometimes the computer don't reconnect to the internet.
Oh, well,
That's
that might
so
be why you're
fucking
Robot
weird.
Richie.
Have you considered paying for your own internet yet?
Have you considered running a LAN cord? How? Oh, okay. So I can get like 200 feet of Cat 6 cable, whatever the fuck we want. So like,
I have like two spools. Just let me know. Like next time we go
Yeah.
down, I've got a crimper and then
in general.
connections.
oh, what?
I don't know.
Anyways, well, you just figure yourself out. We'll keep talking.
Yeah.
So gran
Well,
bino,
yeah.
gran bino.
And
Yep.
no, I cannot run a landline.
Anyways, well, that's good because landlines are phones and we're not talking on the phone. Anyways, so
Internet line, whatever. Fuck. Sorry, I'm not a fucking nerd.
yeah, you
This
well,
is why
the guy
I
talking in O's and ones right now. It's kind of weird that you're not the nerd, Mr. Robot. Um,
Good show, by the way.
great show. I watched the movies; they were pretty incredible. No, all right, bad joke. Got it. Anyways, so can you tell us why you didn't look at your transmission before driving home and potentially now
I
creating
did.
a problem?
What you mean from Roush?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is just another like dumb fuck moment. So when I sunk the thing and everything filled with water and all the oil just evacuated every single thing except for the motor, thank God. Um, I didn't. I think I drained the transfer case because I've had my transfer case blow up before, so I didn't want it to not have fluid or only be on running on water. Um, I knew the axles were full of water because the vent tubes on or the front one I knew was full of water. I don't no, both of them were because the back one, the old vent tube was held. There's a bolt in the hole that's supposed to be where the vent tube is. It's not actually sealed off. I know it's stupid, but it's not sealed, so I knew it was full of water. The front axle, um, I don't know. I guess I didn't. I may not have changed the front axle fluid because I figured it probably still had something. There's no. That one's actually sealed properly for the most part. Um, and I'm not using it on the drive home at all. Just free spinning.
Hmm.
But I didn't think anything of the transmission. I did drain. I opened the fill plug of the transmission, and there's a video of me draining the water out of the transmission from the fill plug. Well, anybody who knows anything about oil and water knows that oil floats on top of water, and when only water is coming out from the top, that that should mean you should change all of the transmission fluid because it's entirely water. No, I didn't think like that, so I only drained the water out up to the bottom of the fill plug, and the rest of it was just chilling in there. It was just all water, completely water.
Oh boy.
Yeah, and then when I got home, I figured I should probably. I don't know why it only occurred to me when I got home that I should change the fluid. But I opened the bottom and I filled it up with water bottles. So I literally filled 3 water bottles full of water, and I got a
Oh
tiny
my
bit of oil.
God.
Yeah. So
Holy shit.
I don't know how the fuck it shifted. I don't know how the fuck nothing exploded, but it didn't. And I've had people tell me that, especially like a couple of the tow guys who are right next to the shop that me and Jacob are at, they'll be like, "Oh, I've heard AX-15s are wimpy." I was like, "What are you talking about? I drove mine 500 miles on water and it didn't give a shit. Like you're still wheeling it today. Like
They are a really, really good transmission for what they are. They are very wimpy when you start putting a lot more power to them, but behind a 4 liter, it's a great transmission.
yeah, I agree with that. And
Um,
especially for a non-top loading transmission, it's
yeah.
very simple to pull apart. Like I didn't have to touch. I had to pull 4 snap rings, like a one detent for the back shift rail, otherwise it wasn't going to come out, and the bolts that hold both halves to that center section. That's all I had to pull, and that middle rod for the shift lever selector thing that had to come out too. That's all it was though, and the front cover, like just really simple. Unbolt it, take the halves off, good to go. Like it, not a hard job at all.
No, working on them doesn't seem like it's that bad. I haven't gone that crazy, but I had to put my top cover or pull my top cover and replace the ball area. That wasn't that bad.
Yeah, no, it's a pretty straightforward transmission. The most frustrating part is getting the shift rails all back in. If you totally disassemble it, you take all the detents out, all the rails out, then it's a little getting them all back in the right spot. I remember was a little tough. It was just getting with it on a bench and it's not nothing's holding anything in place. It was just hard keeping it all lined up, which didn't I don't know. It was and I think there's extra balls in there in between the rails which also have to come out, and that's where the trickiness comes in. There's like a process you need to follow to get it to all go back together correctly. It's sort of like a one of those games at the dentist or some shit. Not
I don't want to talk about the dentist.
You know, I distinctly remember you making all kinds of fucking dental jokes when you fucking blew up the T case in Miguel's rig.
Oh,
Like it was
really?
nonstop dental references
well,
for
because it's
like
teeth.
a month and a half.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey man, I know how to strip teeth real quick, but
Yeah,
it's
you
not
do.
nearly as much fun when you're getting your own teeth worked on. For reference, I had a dentist appointment yesterday, which is
He's traumatized
yes.
for at least a month.
No, I get to go back next week. Um,
Oh,
So it's
okay.
going to be like 3 months he's traumatized for.
the
Yeah.
worst part about it, though, and I'm only gonna say
Does
this
he put
once.
his dick in your mouth?
No, that would
Oh,
have
that's
like
Whoa.
not
been the
that's
best
not even the
part.
worst part. Oh, okay, gosh.
That was the best
No,
part.
The fuck?
um, the sound that it makes sounds just like grinding metal at work. And we were talking, and he's like, "Yeah, I get my bits through XYZ carbide supplier," and I'm like, "I have bought stuff through them."
Like
Lovely.
a carbide bit, chews through everything.
They are amazing. Um, so after you get your transmission fixed,
Hmm.
are we finally going to see some cool stuff out of you, or is it going to continue to be hover mode?
Hover mode is lasting a little longer, not much longer. I have basically all the parts I need to put the motor together. I'm resealing a bunch of shit because I've had issues with the timing cover hemorrhaging oil on that
I
thing, and
hate the 4 liter timing cover.
oh, it's such a pain in the ass. I got a new oil pump that I'm probably gonna throw in because my oil pressure has been. I mean, the thing has no issues, really at all, but the top end's been a little noisy, and me and Jacob are thinking that the oil pump's probably due to be swapped. So I grabbed one of those because we're kind of gonna be in there. I got a new exhaust and intake gasket because mine was blown out in a couple spots, which may have been causing me some of the not overheating issues, but some of the running warm issues that it's had. It was blowing out it was coming out of the I think the midsection and the front. There was a couple leaks, so it was just one of those shitty paper or not paper, but like foam gaskets. So
Yeah,
I got an OEM metal gasket. I'll throw in there, crank it all down. With it out of the motor, it's gonna be I'll be able to crank all
I
the bolts to spec and not have an issue there. So
I honestly forget what I've got in my Jeep. I've swapped it
I
twice
mean
now. I think it's
those foam
Velcro.
gaskets are fine as long as you can crank them. But if they come loose at all, which on an exhaust, if it's especially a 4.0 exhaust where you can't really reach those back bolts to crank them. I mean, you can get a torque wrench on them, but even then, like, you're. I don't actually. That's not true. I'm not sure you can get it to some of those inner ones. You might just have to use the wrench. Uh, so it. I could be totally wrong there, but some of them are a little rough. And with an exhaust, I don't know. It's the same thing on the J20. I've had issues with those things coming loose, and it's not because I'm not tightening them properly. They just fucking work themselves loose. And it's that fucking gasket. I need to get a metal gasket for that one as well. Um, but yeah, once that's done, I swapped the timing cover, cleaned up a couple things, mainly just so I can check for leaks. I'm tired of it leaking like fucking crazy. Um, and it'll go back together. I was gonna try to get the valve cover powder coated, but that's not gonna happen because it doesn't fit in Colin's oven. What else we doing to that? I think
Sounds
that's
like he
about it.
needs a bigger oven.
He does need a bigger oven. It's only like is an inch too short or something like that. We can't fit it in diagonally. It's the valve cover I think is 29 inches and his oven's like 28 from the diagonal. It's a shame.
Fucking terrible.
But once that's done, um, I'll start plating before I put the motor back in and everything. I'm gonna plate the inside of the rails. My biggest issue right now that I'm noticing is just stress cracks on that driver frame rail, which I knew were there. It's about what I expected. If anything, it's actually a little better than I expected. It's starting to pull off of the firewall at the very top, but it's not significant. There's only one weld is cracked, nothing else is bad. Midsection of the rail has seen better days. That's been welded to a few times in a couple random spots, and those welds have made that section of metal pretty brittle. So I'm gonna be plating, I think, the top and maybe some of the inside where I can, just to not with super thick plate just with something to give it a little more weight
Yeah,
and
like some
fresh
eighth,
metal. Yeah,
just nice, easy to work with metal to help plate everything together.
yeah. So I'm gonna just throw
Makes
something
sense.
in there to, I'm in there. I'm not gonna say never, but I won't be back in there for a little while. The next spot that gets attention is the rear, and
Before the next wheeling trip out, he throws a rod.
that would be a shame.
Would
Uh,
You
be a
should do
shame.
it. You
that
should
would
do
be
it.
a
Throw a
curse
rod.
from Luke.
I should throw a rod, or I should do what?
Send the rod to God.
Yup. Send it.
I mean, I think Jacob has a wet kit. Will you just give that fucker a, I don't know, what do you think would blow it up? 150
Easy.
shot?
No, give it a 20 shot. That thing would be fucking gone.
You think 20? No, I think it could take a 60 safely.
I
No
was gonna put my
chance.
money on
What are you talking about?
75.
You don't think a 4.0 could take a 50 shot?
Dude, it'll hold up to a 75. It's no worse than throwing fucking 10 pounds of boost at it.
That's what I was thinking. That's cheaper
Okay,
than an
so
LS
fucking
too.
throw a 300 shot at it. Fuck
No,
it.
that'll instantly explode it. I don't want to do that.
Or it'll just fucking explode the manifold.
Send
Well,
the whole Jeep
That's
to
easy.
God.
I can just
Dude.
put a little danger to the manifold sensor so I know before it blows up. I can turn it off.
What was that Vin Diesel fucking reference that's escaping me right now?
The family one.
What was that?
Something about family.
No, not thinking about family, but like you're gonna blow the welds in your manifold or something
I don't know.
from like the first Fast and the Furious, because I haven't watched any of the other ones.
Yeah, that's the only one I've seen. I've always been tempted to watch the other ones. I can't be bothered. They're I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. What do you think? I think nitrous is probably cheaper than an LS.
Definitely cheaper than an
100%.
LS.
I wonder how much power does an LS make? What are the trail truck guys running for LS power? Like, are they just running stock
Probably like
or a little?
350.
One of them's got if I remember right, it's a 5.7 that's stroked and all that, so he's sitting somewhere around, I want to say 400 at the crank.
Okay, well, like, let's give me one of the low-hanging fruit people here. Like, who's got the lowest powered LS of the group?
Maybe Dwight with his, but it's a 4.8 with a decent cam in it, so like 320,
All right, and how much does a 4.0 make stock?
180.
180.
80, if
Right.
that.
No. Mine's a super high output because it's a 2000. It makes 195 or something. So if we're talking numbers, what do I need? Like a 120 shot?
Yeah.
I don't know if it would hold up, but
If
maybe.
you did it, I don't
Make
know.
YouTube videos.
Yeah, you would definitely make some YouTube videos out of that. But I mean,
I have a spare.
I'm trying to think. There's a chance it could, but it would have to be like high RPM. No, it'd have to be low RPM. No, because then it would
No,
cause...
you're not supposed to shoot it off at low RPM, I thought. That's how you kill everything. I don't know
But I
enough
mean-
about nitrous. Jacob's gonna kill me if he listens to this one.
So 150 shot at idle is what I'm hearing.
No.
No.
Just the motor explosion button. Just kill it. Just end it now.
Yeah, it's like whenever just an ejectocito but for the
It's
pistons.
like, no, this trail's too hard. Blow the motor.
It's like I can't.
I don't
look
want
at
to go up that.
Go, cuz.
I don't want to do that hill climb.
What was it? There was a company that was selling one that you could wire into your throttle position sensor. This was like for V8s and whatnot, but you could essentially set it so if you hit wide open, it would give it a shot. You know, just do the opposite of that.
What, idle to get
Wire
the
it
shot?
backwards.
Oh god. Yeah, I don't know. I think it'd be. I don't know why people don't do that.
It's been done many times.
Has
It's just not as talked about. You're
Because
gonna
it's
spend a
not
lot
safe.
of money.
You won't. Is it a lot of money?
You're gonna spend a
I
lot
don't
of money for a wet kit.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Jacob
Uh,
has a wet kit. That's what has me thinking.
I hate this, but I'm so down to try it
I
out.
hate it as well. I don't like working on the motor at all. Like that's why it's never been out before. So
All right, Graham. So you're going to do the wet kit, but you're going to be running off of the Amazon race fuel.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, now we're getting somewhere. I'm in.
Powdered gas and nitrous. That's all you need.
Exactly. But you got to mix the powdered gas with a little bit of water because, it needs to be a
Well,
fluid
yeah, it
to
has
go
to be
through.
a fluid. You need water. It
Yeah.
only makes sense. But yeah, the motor will go back in, plate the inside of the frame rails, and then the fun happens, and I can focus on the suspension part of the entire project, which is honestly going to be probably the quickest part of the whole deal. And then I'm going to stretch the rear a little bit. I should have time because it needs to move back. It's not good where it sits now. And yeah, I'm hoping I don't have to do a fuel cell. I probably won't, even if I do have to move the tank. I'm probably just going to stuff the tank in the
Nick
back.
LeBlanc it.
What did Nick LeBlanc do?
Put it in the back, and then it caught fire.
Oh,
Oh,
why did it catch
God.
fire?
Well, if you listen to the episode,
I know.
you
I need to
know.
listen to it. God damn it! Reiterate
know.
for me. I don't have time to listen to it right this second.
Something. So it had a slightly faulty seal, and it was pulling gas up in the around the ring, if I remember correctly, and then it sparked and flashed and just whoosh,
Ooh, yeah.
and
Well,
it burned the whole Jeep to the ground.
huh?
It's fine though. Don't even worry.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a fuel cell is no fucking different. Your cell's sketchy as shit. Those stupid moto built cells. I don't know, man. I'm not. I think I've bitched about them several times before. It's just the theme of the whole podcast is we talk about the same shit about 5 times, but uh, I don't like those moto built cells. Not happy with
Well, I
them.
fixed the major issues with it.
It had a major issue.
Well, I went through and I got a better cap for it.
Oh, you mean that little like turn cap thing that
It's
it's
still
got?
a turn cap, but I replaced the seal in there and glued it in. So now it actually like locks down the way it's supposed to. And then I put the caps where they have to go, and my vents now got a one of those check valves on it.
Hmm.
So it's got a rollover valve. It's much better sealed than it was.
Yeah. I don't know. When you tell me that story about the flash fire in it, it'd be a shame if my Jeep burned to the ground. So I don't know.
Yeah, let's not do that and say we did. How's that sound?
Yeah.
Let's
I mean,
not and say we didn't, because you don't want to poke that karma juju.
yeah.
What
I
the
don't know.
fuck?
I'm gonna finish the front and then we'll talk
You
about
never
that.
heard of karma juju?
No, what the fuck does that even mean?
Oh, it's a machine shop term, but like when you talk about something happening as a joke and then it happens but worse.
Yeah, no, never heard of that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. That's
No,
I'm a juju.
to keep up with your theme of burning up previous things, Graham, I've told you a few times before, convert everything to fucking electric. Then you don't
No.
have to worry about your Jeep burning.
No, you just have to worry about going
What
through
are
a
you
puddle and
talking about?
electrocuting your friends.
lithium ion batteries are like the most flammable things like that we carry around every day. They're like freaking bombs. You look
Well,
at them wrong
don't
and they'll
put a
explode.
flame next to it.
It's not even flames. You poke them and they blow up. Like,
Just
I don't know.
embrace the nerd. Just go full electric.
Nerd.
Nah, I couldn't do a full electric vehicle.
That'd be
cool,
fucking.
but
Nah,
I
I'd
wouldn't
be
do a
so
car.
down. Absolutely for a rig, it'd be all torque.
Nah,
What do you mean? It'd be
I don't know.
amazing.
eh.
Okay, this is topic of discussion now. Why do you feel that an electric car would not be beneficial?
I'm
in our
not saying
car?
it wouldn't. I just wouldn't want to do it. It's just like
I don't know how
It's like
efficient
the-
that would be.
I'm an IT person. If I didn't like, you know, big tires and horsepower and gas motors, I wouldn't be in it. Like, I don't want to work on electric shit. I do that every day. Like, it's just not where I want to. I wouldn't
So
want to drive
essentially,
one.
Graham's got a bad attitude.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't get me
lame.
wrong. I'd love to build an electric vehicle of some kind. I think that would be an interesting project, but it wouldn't be a crawler.
Why not?
Yeah, I
At
can get
least not
behind that.
for until like there's swap kits that are cheaper than LS swaps. Like, why bother? It's just not worth it. Like,
Yeah,
I
but
don't know.
see, but that's the thing though, is how efficient would that actually be?
Outer efficient.
What do you mean? How
Robots,
efficient?
Richie.
It's electric. Like, you
Yeah,
charge it
well,
off sunflowers and daisies. Like,
no, so like from my understanding, like the big electric car batteries are fucking heavy.
yeah,
Un-
they're
unless
massive.
something's changed, they're fucking heavy.
So you
So
put them in the front where the engine's supposed to be, and you put
yeah,
the
so
motor.
so you got to balance out the whole drivetrain there with that. But it's not motor shaped, it's battery shaped. So you got to kind of play with things there. But then also have to add in guarding for the battery, so it doesn't randomly explode. But then it's like, you know, you get a Tesla battery, right? You,
But you couldn't use a Tesla
it,
battery because that's a
no, no,
skateboard. That wouldn't
but
work.
I'm going off like a Tesla car battery. You're good for like couple hundred miles on the road.
Mhm.
But how does that mileage on the road transfer to the off road? That's what I'm talking about. Efficiency.
Oh, yeah. I don't
Uh,
know.
I'm sure
That's
it'd
a
be
good
fucking
question.
horrible. I'm sure it'd be horrible.
So
Yeah.
would you have to stop every 20 minutes with the little fancy dancy like super solar charger to recharge your
That's a
rig?
good point. You'd like it would be a night wheeling machine because you'd need to charge it during the day. You'd have to have solar panels or a generator or something.
Well, because
I guess you could
they
charge it with a
sell-
generator at night, but like
Yeah, but
They
you had to
sell
charge it with
these
a 220
crazy-
generator too, which is not that common.
exactly.
Like-
So you're stuck with solar panels, so it's a night wheeler.
And then you're still burning fuel in the generator to get your rig running.
Yeah, so you
So
might
it's
as well
not
just
super
fucking
friendly.
put the generator in the rig.
Uh-huh.
There's an idea.
They
Generator
have
in the
these
back.
insane fucking solar chargers now that would be able to like fully charge the thing. I'm pretty sure reasonably quick, just on the side of the trail.
You
Well,
know,
some-
and
And it's
I'll
just
put
like
it,
a logistics question.
I'll put it like this too. If the Cybertruck, for example, from Tesla were to end up being a good success and I was a little higher on the hog than I am, I would consider it and like if there was charging stations across America, it'd be super cool. But I don't know if I
Imagine a
want that.
Cybertruck crawler.
I don't know
You
if I
could
want that.
You could dove nose and dovetail the shit out of that thing, and it would still look good because it's just a
Good.
it's a fucking
Look good.
polygon. you
Check
wouldn't
out
change the
the-
look. It would
Yeah,
just be
there you go.
pointier.
I don't know if it ever
Check
looks
out the
good.
next full-size invasion at Moab.
You're right. It
Yeah.
Cody, I'll agree with you. It's never looked good, but you wouldn't
It
make it
wouldn't
any
look
worse.
Fair. Very fair.
You turn it into a fucking what's that little green thing from The Sims? It'd be like a
Well, I'm not too
plumb
sure.
bob or something. That's what it's called.
Oh, Plum Bob? Oh no, never played Sims.
It's just a shape. It's the name of the shape.
Oh,
So,
god.
I just think of the little Sims green crystal thing.
Oh, yeah. So, I would just like to take a couple minutes here and thank some of our awesome guests for coming on in the last like 6 episodes.
Bro.
It's
Without
Just
been
bang-
a
Bangers.
random shout out in the middle of the episode. No big deal. So
Yeah,
they'll
yeah.
watch. Yeah. Okay.
We're just letting them know it's going to go downhill from here. We can't go up.
Fair enough,
Like,
yeah.
it's
It
done.
definitely
Like,
is.
we're washed up. We're useless. So, like, I hope you enjoyed what you had. And yeah.
it was good while it lasted.
Yep, this is the last.
Yep.
Could that be the title? The last 69, the last
Yeah.
episodes.
I mean, to be fair, if we were gonna do it, that would be a great episode to
Yeah.
end it on. Like, it's been a good run.
Yeah,
See ya,
but like
boys.
in the last 6 though, we've had like Dwight Taggart, Nick LeBlanc, fucking Kyle Radin, Chris, And Sam, it's been a wild ride the last couple weeks.
That is true.
And we got some more
Yeah.
local guys coming in too, which I know is sort of. I want to. I guess it's sort of where we started off was with the local people, and we still want to stay with the local people because it's cool. You don't hear a lot of opinions from people in the north or New England, not just the North Shore, the northern part of the East Coast. So I think we got some
We
more guys
also
from there
bring
coming
up the
on.
weird fact that like a good portion of our listeners are from California. How like weird is that? It just seems so surprising. I don't know. Like I assumed there would have been a lot of New England guys listening to some New England guys talk about wheeling, but then again, it's disassociation. New England guys are like, the fuck am I gonna listen to these weirdos about? I'm just gonna go outside and go do it. Where the Californians are like, holy shit, there's water out there? Like you guys wheel on wet rocks? Like what? Dude, tell me about it. I want to hear.
I don't
Yeah,
think it's quite like that, but I'm not gonna argue. Um, nah, but and going forward, it's gonna be wild. We're like fucking booked up till April, like mid-April at this rate.
That's awesome.
There's gonna be some familiar faces, some not so familiar faces, and after we get through that, shit, we're gonna be getting close to the trail trash meet and beat.
I can't
So
wait. Well,
gonna be a bit
um,
months.
Sorry, I thought you were going on with that sentence there, Luke. I thought there was gonna be more about like, why the meet and beat is gonna be so exciting or something, but
well, it's
No,
gonna
I
be
was gonna
exciting.
let someone else pop in and fucking do that, but instead they just decided that
It's gonna
trail
be
trash doesn't
exciting.
matter and
It's
they're
gonna
gonna
be
drop the
great.
ball.
you're the one that said that their videos were surprisingly entertaining, and you're gonna call us out for not liking them? Come on. What?
Well, you have to understand, my humor is like absolutely dry and sarcastic, so me saying something is surprisingly entertaining is like, a 9.5-star review.
Surprisingly entertaining. Luke.
Surprisingly entertaining. That sounds great. I'd want to watch all of that.
Yeah, that's a raving review right there from Luke.
I think that was actually the exact review that a hot dog party or whatever the fuck that movie was back in the day. You remember that? Whatever the fuck that
Yeah.
shitty movie was.
Sausage Party.
Sausage Party. God, I've never seen a more disappointing movie in my entire life.
Severe letdown.
We talked about Jeeps, now I could talk about anything, right? That's how this works.
Yeah.
What's your favorite
was,
tire,
that
Cody?
that was a weird movie.
My favorite tire? I mean, honestly, I don't really have a favorite tire.
Oh, please. You've been
Just-
giving the general the
No.
gluck for months.
Years even.
I don't like their ATs. The ATs I got on my truck are kind of dog shit in the snow, so like we could talk about that if you want.
Well, Richie, let's talk
Yes.
about your electrical problems here, or the assumed electrical problems,
Okay.
because I am curious
So-
about this.
So last year in July, and yes, this has been going on since July because my life has been absolute batshit, and I like haven't had time to touch the damn thing. But I've been really pushing to get it back up and going.
You're on a wheeling podcast. It's nice to have a rig that.
Yeah,
you can drive
that's
normally.
kind of where
Yeah.
I'm looking at right now. But so last year in July for our Badlands trip, I needed a front recovery point. So I finally went ahead. I made my shit-tastic fucking C-channel bumper, welded a tab on it for a shackle.
And is this new?
Well,
Sorry, I don't know why I just blanked on when you said you did this, but
It's been a while.
July.
I was gonna say it's been a long time since
okay.
you said it.
I literally did it the week before Badlands.
gotcha. All right. So,
So-
it's been there. You've had it.
Yeah, I welded everything on to the Jeep, mind you. And as soon as I got the Jeep into the shop, I disconnected the battery, and then I went about doing all my measurements. I did all my cutting. I did all the tacking and welding on the bench, and then brought the bumper to the Jeep and welded it to the Jeep. Now, I pull the Jeep out of the shop, and it just started doing just a little bit of like a rev bounce, you know?
Hmm.
Like as you had said before the podcast, like it was kind of searching for idle,
Yeah, it's hunting.
and I didn't notice it while I was driving home, and then
Yeah, because you're
the
driving, you're not
week,
going to notice it. It's only when
well, the
it's.
the week leading up to Badlands, it got progressively more aggressive in terms of it was going through a lot more RPMs searching for idle or whatever it is.
Mhm. And you don't have
And
any? Do you have any engine codes? I mean, more than
oh my
usual, I
fuck, I
guess.
have a code for just about everything.
Oh,
Okay, so that's
Jesus.
tough.
And have you tried
So
actually fixing the things that fixes those codes? Just throwing it out there.
yeah, it's throwing codes for O2 sensors, TPS, like every fucking control sensor in the Jeep. It's telling me my transmission's not connected. It's telling me that I have a manual instead of an auto and an auto instead of a manual. Like it's got so many contradicting fucking engine codes. It don't make sense to me.
Hmm.
So this is gonna sound really stupid, but just see if you can scoop a 99 ECM. You might have
That
just had a bad ground on the ECM.
that's one of the things I've been starting to toy with is that there might have been somewhat of a charge left in the system when I started welding to the Jeep, and it might have just fried the computer.
That's very possible.
I don't know.
Um,
If you fried the computer, I feel like it would be worse
mm,
than idles like shit, or
I
Well,
don't
you
know,
can't
because
keep a.
we're
it's
talking
it's
about
not so much just idling like shit though, because I mean it'll go from 300 RPMs to like 2,500 RPMs, not only while I'm idling, but while I'm driving.
That's
the
fucking
other
weird.
thing that could be happening is you could have an intermediate vacuum leak, like a bad seal on the brake booster.
Yep.
Um, that's
Okay.
a really simple thing to check.
I thought we checked that though. That seems like something we would have checked when we
It's
were up at
possible.
Badlands.
So I guess my first question is when it surges, when you get the high RPM, do you does it sound like is there a
It sounds like I'm
vacuum
pushing the
noise? Does it
gas
sound like the
pedal.
IAC is open or like I don't
It
know?
it
Because
it
I
literally
when you can
it
tell when an
literally
IAC
sounds
is
like
open.
someone's just sitting there fucking pushing the gas pedal. Wum, wum.
All right, so it's
Yeah, it's
just
like kind of fluctuating, just bum bum bum. Like that's kind of
Yeah,
what it
yeah.
sounds.
It literally sounds like I put the fucking stupidest lope tune possible on a 4.0.
Yeah,
hmm.
but instead of loping to like idle RPM, it's like to drive RPM.
It's like loping to 80 down the highway RPM.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would seriously, another one that you might not be able to check so easy, and I really wouldn't go digging into it too far because it involves pulling the master, is the seal on the backside of your brake booster can go bad, and I have had to deal with it. I replaced the one on my Jeep when I did the master and disconnected the brake uh
Okay.
booster.
No, the
It'll
I'm sorry, go ahead.
it will create a weird because like the diaphragm effect of the booster, it'll create weird idling issues. And I think that that was part of what was causing some of my idling issues on the 97 before I did, like I was just starting to have them when I went to the tons. And when I pulled all that apart to do that, I had replaced that. It took me like 15 minutes to do.
Okay.
But that was because the whole system was already apart because I was replacing the master cylinder.
Now my main thing is the reason why I keep looking at electrical problems is purely because it happened at the shop as soon as I started the Jeep up after welding the bumper on.
If we're talking things that are strictly electrical that could be causing that specific issue, there's really only two things other than your. I don't even think we mentioned it yet, but I know we talked about it before we started the podcast. Was the TPS sensor? I know I gave you one, and I can give you another one because I don't know if it's any good, but it's off a motor that was at some point running. It might be in better shape than the one you have.
Well, I mean, the one that you gave me, it didn't change anything other than
Gave it a
giving
high
the Jeep
idle.
a high idle.
Yeah. So, what I would say, the only other things that could cause the RPM fluctuations that are electrical at least are O2 sensors, the upstream O2 sensors, depending on I guess you have two on the 99, right? Or the IAC. And I would swap both of those.
Okay.
Yeah, and they're both not that expensive. You can order them off of Amazon for pretty cheap.
Or if you're going to the fucking club meeting, I'll rip them off of the motor I have, and you can just have them. I don't need them.
Are you sure, Graham? Because I'll be at the club. I'm sorry, I just started dying a little. I'll be at the club meeting.
All choked up.
Okay. Yeah, I'll look.
It's so touching.
Take a picture of, if you have a minute, take a picture of the plugs and stuff. I'll just make sure they're the same. Because I know the motor I have is a 2000, so
I will have to get that to you like tomorrow.
yeah, no rush. I got to go back for some other stuff anyways. So just let me know and I can yank those pieces off if you want. I'm not gonna
Yeah,
need 'em.
I would super appreciate that.
Then at least you can test them. It's just it's something else to try versus what you have in it currently. And then you'll know, I mean, even with that TPS I gave you with the high idle, like that changed something, but it didn't change it for the better, right? If you change one of those
Yeah.
things out and it turns out that fixes it or changes it in a major way, that may be the problem. Even if the sensor I
Oh,
give you isn't good, instead of you parts cannoning and spending a shitload of money on new sensors, I'm
Yeah.
giving you questionable sensors that may change what it's doing, right? So
And also, while you're at it, go through and check all of the wiring
ground
below
specifically.
going. No,
No?
not that. That wasn't where I was going. I do agree, but we were just talking before the podcast, and I think he said he went through all the engine bay grounds.
Hmm.
Um, the rear oxygen sensor wiring on a Cherokee is a motherfucker because if it shorts out but it does not pop the fusible link, it is directly wired to the PCM. It does not have a fuse on it. So you can fry your PCM if you have bad wiring down there, which will also cause all kinds of cool electrical problems.
okay.
And then when you
Fun.
go to swap your PCM out, it will do the exact same thing the next time it shorts.
Okay.
So this is going to sound really, really, really budget redneck poor bullshit, but I have a wire nut over the end of each of those. And then I taped that up and rolled it up into a ball, and it sits on top of my transfer case, zip tied up there with the other wiring.
For your O2 sensor?
Yeah, because I don't have a rear O2 sensor.
Hmm.
So it's direct powered. So, like, essentially, if there's nothing to stop it from shorting out, it
It's
will
just gonna
fuck.
blow it. Yeah.
Yeah, it
Hmm.
fucks everything up. And it's I've had a couple of Jeeps do some really weird shit. My 98, instead of blowing the PCM, thankfully, it popped the IOD fusible link.
As it
Uh,
should,
when
I'd
that,
hope.
huh?
As it should, I'd hope. Not burn your PCM out, but
Yeah, but it popped the IOD, like the interior lights and
a lot of
fucking all
sensors
that
run off.
shit.
A lot of sensors run off of that shit, and that's why if you have
And
grounding
see,
issues internally, it'll cause issues with basically all your sensors in most cases.
Yep.
that's the other thing is I also have to go through like every single fuse and relay just to make sure that nothing stupid fucking popped. Because I
Yeah,
haven't actually gone through all
Yeah, but
my fuses
if
yet.
it runs and you still have all the functionality that you used to have, I wouldn't expect a fuse to have blown. I'd expect a sensor to be all wigged out.
or the PCM.
Well,
I hate
I have a
blaming
giant
that.
box of fuses at my house, so I'm gonna take a look at all my fuses just to double check.
Yeah. I hate blaming the PCM until it's like, that you haven't, there's nothing
I
else to blame,
I
right?
totally get it, but I'm just thinking like I can't remember from all my time I spent working on Richie's Jeep ever seeing a rear O2 sensor in it. And I don't know what happened with the wiring.
Hmm.
So it's
Oh,
not that far of a stretch for that to have happened. He also welded to it, which on my 98, it killed the PCM when I welded to the driver's side front unibody rail without disconnecting the battery. And it would run, but it would not accelerate. It wouldn't do anything cool, and it would just like throw random codes out the ass.
Hmm.
hmm.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm,
I can't speak too much to it because I've never had a PCM go bad, so I don't really know. I mean, I guess you wouldn't really have any telling symptoms because it would just be acting. If it was working at all, it'd be all fucked up. So it's tough. But
So
I,
my only
this is one
experience
of.
with my only experience with like bad PCMs or even the computer as is usually just like completely fries them. I've never really had it to a point that it
functions.
killed it, but it still functions. Yeah.
I mean, I've had what three Jeeps in total personally in
Hmm.
my life, and I blew the PCM on my 96, and it still ran just like dog shit.
Hmm.
No, we didn't blow the PCM. We blew the fucking. There was a lot more going on than the PCM. The PCM was just the fucking start of that.
Alright, well, I replaced the PCM and it made it better.
That's
Was that
fucking
the
weird.
98? That might have been the 98.
I don't know, might have.
Because
I
the
honestly,
96, we put a rod through the piston.
you know what? You're right. It was the 98. It was the one that the 5 speed came out of.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense because we put a rod through the piston on the 96.
Yeah, yeah. Well, changing the PCM made that one run better too. Fuck it.
Um,
I guess if we're talking computers, the only computer I may have blown up was the and I didn't. It's not fully destroyed. If it is the TCM in my Jeep, because me and a buddy of mine who's actually an engineer at Blueprint, so we weren't that stupid. Your Blueprint crate motors, is
Yeah.
we were wiring. Maybe he is because he was a mechanical engineer, not an electrical engineer. So we were all just dumbasses working on the shit. We were trying to get my reverse lights to work through the because I have a manual in my Jeep, but it was not a manual Jeep. It's an automatic Jeep, and the automatic pulls the reverse light signal from the neutral safety switch, not the neutral safety switch part of it, but from the shift selector, and that's a whole big plug that goes down. Anybody who's done a manual swap know that you do this magic trick where you make the gray wire or the white wire and the black wire, you twist them together and you never look at them again, and the Jeep will start because that disables neutral safety switch. But we were trying to get the the reverse light wiring to work, but it's kind of funky because you got to power it. You have to give one of the plugs power because one of them is like a main power, and then it will. If you do something specific, we were messing around with how we could make it think that it was in reverse in certain situations with the reverse switch that was on the manual. And I'm pretty sure we backfed 12 volts through the TCM, and it didn't like that because it stopped. It was working in a specific way, and we thought we were getting close. And then we backfed power through it, and then it never worked that way again. Like we couldn't get it to do that thing that we were trying to get it to do.
Jesus.
So it didn't work. I did actually get it working. I wired it directly to a plug somewhere on the TCM. I don't remember exactly where, but I know it goes in there, and it's two red wires. It's professionally wired right there. 2 powers. They're important because they're red. So, yeah. But yeah, I'm pretty sure we messed something up on that. I don't. I think the no, I think I bypassed the TCM and it goes directly to the plug that the TCM is supposed to have in it. I think it's just spliced into the plug. The TCM's still sitting there, but I'm pretty sure it's toast. But I don't need it anymore, anyways. So we're good.
Oh God.
Yep.
Have you ever considered you might just be bad?
Oh, I'm very aware. Uh, I I learned through brute force and ignorance. Once I do learn, I feel like I retain the information fairly well. But until I learn my lesson, it's a hard road in most cases.
That's great. I mean, I've done that. Oh, sorry, God.
Have you considered saying a prayer and maybe like eventually you won't be as bad and you won't need as much brute force and ignorance?
Brute force and ignorance, though, it teaches you something that, like, it'll force you to learn things that you wouldn't just by being like told what to do.
Well,
So I kind of respect it.
that's like, the whole cliche about oh man, I totally lost my train of thought. I was just responding to a message on my phone. I shouldn't have even opened it. Um, you learn more from your mistakes than you do from your victories, right? I don't know. I feel like that applies to everything I've ever done on my Jeep and
Yeah.
to computers and everything else I've worked on as well. I don't know. It's just,
Girlfriends too. That works for that too.
yeah, I guess. It's been everything that I've fucked up, I've learned way more because it'll change the way you approach that in the future. And not just that, but every other thing that is in any way similar to that, from there on out, right? So right,
Yep.
I've blown gear sets up, plenty of gear sets up. Every time I blow a gear set up, I learn a shitload. Always learning on that front. I've blown, I put the transmission together wrong, right? I don't know. I Every time I make a mistake, it just reinforces the good part of it all, right? So always improving, always getting more meticulous with that. You know what to look for in things that don't necessarily even apply to that specific part. If you come into that, into some similar setup and any other future things, you know exactly how to handle it because you've blown it up before, right? That's always how
Yep.
it's been for me.
Hey, and if you don't learn from it, Action Fab will appear on your podcast to chastise you about it.
Yeah, and
He's good shit. Chris is fucking awesome.
yeah. Speaking of Chris, is I'm st- I know we kind of talked about it a little bit during the podcast with him. I'm still tempted to shave that 60. And I was talking with Chris Ayusa, and he didn't make it any easier to not do that. He's like, yeah,
You won't.
totally shave it. So
Oh,
I've got the lines drawn on the cast. I just have to make the cuts.
okay, so do
that'll
it.
that'll happen soon. I'm waiting for it to warm up to, above 15 degrees whenever I'm at the shop, because it kind of sucks
So
with it so
here's the
cold.
deal, right? You know,
Be a man.
you're gonna cut it, and then you're gonna realize you need the ring gear turned down. So in
I
the
know that.
time,
I've already got the shitty bearings on the ring gear to turn it down, but I don't have anything.
instead of doing that, because you're gonna need to wait for a nice warm day, right?
Hmm.
To weld it. Am I wrong?
I mean,
Ship it
not if
down
Richie
here.
brings back the diesel heater on
Mm.
Saturday.
I could brain it.
Let me know.
You really want me to? I will fucking brain it.
I
So
want you to fucking bring it, Richie.
Oh, I fucking brain it.
just ship it down to me. I've got a big enough engine lathe where I work that I just need to know how much you want taken off.
Yeah, that's the thing.
The
is I don't
whole
know.
thing.
It's gonna be
All
easier for me to just take it down with an angle grinder.
I was just gonna say
I
flat
mean,
disc the
if,
shit out
if
of it.
that's a
It'd be
bad
mid.
idea, Chris, please call me out. But
I
I
think
am
if you have
not
to
even
ask,
going to
it's a bad
entertain
idea.
that.
what are you talking about?
I
No,
know we were
no.
just talking about how trials and tribulations make it better, but no.
Listen, this
When you're
this
trying to
ring gear
poke
was free.
a
If I
fucking
blow it
electrical
up,
socket with this
I won't feel
screwdriver,
bad.
like, oh my god,
No,
oh my
but
god.
with the cut or with what you're doing though, I would heavily suggest that you consider maybe putting a cut and putting a little ridge on the bottom of the plate instead of cutting the ring gear
Oh,
because
I'm going to, but I may also need to shape the ring gear down a tiny bit because otherwise, what's the point? If it's because it's
Wait, how big is the ring gear?
the
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 ring gear,
Spicer. No. The Spicer gear that you gave me, Luke, measures 10 inches in diameter.
uh-huh.
I don't.
Okay, never mind.
Dana
That's too big.
60s are generally a 9 3/4. I thought.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's significantly fatter than what it's required to be to technically count as a Dana 60 ring gear. So it's got a lot of room to be shaved.
It's got a lot of room to be shaved, but that's not to say that you don't blow the pinion and decide that, all right, cool, this sucks. I'm gonna do it again. Yo, Ford, get me one of those Super Duty F450 gear sets for, because they're like $250 with a 37 spline pinion. So you can style on everyone else, and it just goes in with parts from the Ford dealership.
Hmm.
So like, measure your options here because I'm not saying that you're probably going to do it again, but
What
eventually
do you not have confidence in my front gear sets anymore, Luke?
I have complete and utter confidence in your gear sets, and I would happily let you set up another set of axles for me. Where I was going with that, though, is I have watched Danger Grimby come out of the woodwork and start clutch dumping everywhere with double low range.
Yeah,
Um,
it's pretty brutal on fifth gear and specifically. I think that's what killed it. Not clutch
um,
jumping in fifth gear, but just redlining in fifth gear in lower low. Yeah, it's fun.
so, Danger Grimby with double low and third gear clutch dumps because he's pissed, and this is the fourth time he's tried the obstacle, so he's rev limitering it in fourth to get the tires warm. That's a little hard on equipment. And let's add in a set of 1550 shafts with tacked in spicers. So, they're mint. Eventually something is going to give in there. And at that point in time, that Dana 60 pinion's starting to look a little on the weak side.
If I blow the Dana 60 pinion, then what do I change? What do I
You put in the big pinion kit, which is like the F450 or 550 gear sets with the 37 spline instead of just the standard, I think it's
I'd
32
really
spline.
hope I'd blow something else. If I'm blowing Dana 60 pinions with the 4.0 and low, I don't.
It happens.
Oh, jeez. Yeah,
Start
we'll
throwing
see.
stickies and front digs in there, and it happens.
Yeah, the front digs have
Nothing is
killed the other one.
bulletproof.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, Dana 60s are cool, but they're not bulletproof. I'm never going to claim that a Dana 60 is bulletproof. They're a lot tougher and they survive a lot more abuse, but eventually you egg the ears out on the shaft and then it gets a little sloppy and you clutch
Did you
dump it
just say
and
that
it comes up.
Graham's shaft looks like an egg? That's kind of fucked up.
Well,
Whoa.
I usually crack the caps. I tack the caps in, so it doesn't matter how fucking destroyed the ears on the shafts are. The cap's staying in it. Unlike Colin with his full circle clip bullshit, those clips break off, pops a cap, boom, thing blows up. If he tacked him, he wouldn't have as many issues. Guarantee
Hey.
it.
I've switched over to tacked cap gang, but that's just because I keep buying junkyard shafts, and Chris is going to continue to torment me about this. Junkyard shafts, slap a new U-joint in there for $35.
Hell, not even.
With a mild-
I ran a junkyard U-joint. Literally, it was one of your spare shafts off the 50. It was this absolutely fucking smoked U-joint. I had to work the thing to get it to move again. I slapped it in there. It lasted a year. Absolutely no issues. And then when it did blow, it just like spider webbed the top of the cap. It didn't even blow that bad. It just kind of like it basically gave the warning sign that hey, I'm gonna die. I heard it while we were out at Badlands, and then I swapped it. I think that's the one that blew then. But it never fully disintegrated itself. It didn't destroy any parts. It just like it hated life, but it was there for the ride.
Yeah, well, it's just like me.
Exactly.
I don't know. I feel like, my method's probably not right,
It
but
doesn't need to be
it
right,
works
It
well enough.
but it
normally
does
is
work.
not.
Well, the right way to do it would be to spend God knows how much on brand new parts that aren't going to last any longer than the parts that
No, they
are.
would last longer. It's just where it breaks is gonna change. If I go 35 spline outers with stock inners, I'm gonna start blowing the stock inners. I replace all of that and it should be good, but the next failure is going to be like the carrier because I've got a
Why are you
Spartan
breaking
in
stock
it.
inners on the Dana 60? Aren't those
If I put 35 spline outers on it,
you
you've
won't blow
got
inners.
chrome,
You'll
you've
still
got
blow the outers.
chromolyes.
Oh, if you put chromoly outers on, yeah, you may blow the
Yeah.
inners.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. If I put 35 spline chromo outers on there,
At
it's
that
gonna
point, just
break
put a
the
full
inner.
chromo shaft in. It's
Yeah,
probably
and
not that
then
much more expensive to do half a chromo shaft than to just get a full one from
oh,
ECGS.
it's not.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, like, eventually the failure point becomes less likely but more severe as it works its way in.
that's just the name of the
Because I
game.
was, yeah, it is. And I'm okay with breaking a stub shaft or breaking a fucking mile marker or a Warden Premium.
You're okay with breaking a stub shaft and a mile marker until until you've replaced the hub a bunch of times because those not the hub, sorry, the unit bearing because whenever the stub shaft goes, it always disintegrate or it always compromises those and unless
Yeah.
if it's a wheeling rig, I wouldn't give a fuck. Whatever, just run it. But
Mhm.
if you see any street time with the thing, I wouldn't. I've done it.
I've
I
gotten
don't trust it.
lucky. I've gotten lucky, I guess, because the one stub that I really actually like fucked up, I fucked up in a manner where it just shattered and it broke outside of the unit bearing.
Hmm. All of mine
So,
have been at the inner edge, and it just exploded,
yeah, I took
took
like
out all the inner bearings out, and
it twisted and just like kind of snapped off with a couple of shards
Mhm.
outside of the bearing. So I might just be lucky.
I haven't blown the outer bearing, but you can't put a shaft back in on a unit bearing with the insides that's if it's been exploded because it's not going to ride. There's supposed to be a bearing that inner shaft rides on. I
Yeah, did
believe,
you
right?
see that with the what is it? The fucking slug kits that it takes that bearing out?
Really?
You don't
What
need to
slug
run
kits?
that bearing if you're running a slug. They
What?
give you a or UWMP or whatever it is bushing that goes in there because your axle is going to continuously rotate at the same speed as your um, unit bearing is, so
Are you
you're
talking
not
about like
getting
a
the slip
UHW
anymore.
plastic or something like that?
Yeah,
Yeah. They still give you something for it to ride on. If you don't
yeah.
support that that outer stub shaft all the way to the end, it's gonna wiggle around, I think, which
It
is the
depends on how
problem.
you bore it.
Oh, I mean, if you're
If
boring
you're
it
going to
out, yeah, that
use
that changes things.
some companies use like a 1 inch 510 diameter, so there isn't a lot of slop in there, and then it's held by the slug or the drive flange as
Hmm.
just to, make sure that Cody knows what page we're on.
What? Why you calling me out about slugs and nasty?
Because
They're
you
not on
like
the
the nasty.
they're not crawling on the ground. It's not those little like the squishy things. They got
What
splines.
the fuck?
Where have you been? Are you still living under a rock?
No, I'm just concerned because I thought we were talking about axles, and then you guys started talking about animals, and I didn't have any slug facts, so I'm just a little flustered. I'm sorry, guys. I wasn't on the ball right
Don't have any
now.
slug facts. Come on.
No slug facts, man. No slug
Do you
facts.
have
I
a
mean, they just
raccoon fact for us?
you know,
God fucking damn it, Cody, you're fired.
I think the raccoon facts are over. I think it's time for like horse facts or something, or like toucan
I
facts
ain't
or something.
I ain't got no equine facts, but I do got me a pinky fact.
You
What's
do
a
got me
pinky?
no grammar.
Like the finger?
A pinky?
Like pinky finger?
Yeah, pinky finger.
Okay, well
All
that's not
right,
an
hit
animal.
us with it. Hit us. It's attached to an animal, so.
The owner is
So-
an animal.
So the origin of having your pinky held out while you are drinking something was with the aristocrats and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
They would use their thumb and their pinky to pinch up spices or whatever the fuck it was. Could have been cocaine for all I know.
You're talking about the stuff that they put in the end of the nose.
That's like a really classy way to pick up cocaine, I imagine, though.
But
I
it's, you pinch it between your thumb and your pinky to, out of a bowl in the center of the table. And it was considered rude to take more than that. But if you were
spices.
to
You're
grab,
talking about the stuff that they would burn inside those really long nose masks.
I honestly, I don't know.
Oh.
All the article said was spices in the middle of the table.
You have like
It's a point.
So like
you have a
pepper.
few people right
If-
now pinching their thumb to their pinky, right?
Yes.
Hi.
I'm currently doing it. It's kind of odd, I'll be honest.
But,
I
if
never
you
tried it
grabbed
before.
If you grab a glass full-handed, your pinky would get covered in condensation from the glass. So you would hold the pinky out, so that way your pinky would stay dry, so you would be grabbing a socially acceptable amount.
Ah, that's actually kind of fucking cool. Not off-road related at all, but now I know.
And on that note,
Oh, Luke's shutting us down now. Okay.
Popo's back.
Popo is back. We're getting way too far off the beaten path here.
What are you talking about? We were
Uh,
doing pretty good up until the pinky facts.
So
Sorry.
It's fine. It was actually very interesting. I
it
learned
was
something.
incredibly interesting. Do you have any more interesting facts along those lines?
I
About
do,
pinky
but-
facts? I don't know.
I do, but I can't have them come to mind at the moment. So I will jot them down and we will revisit next week.
So next week, while we're talking to the KOH guy,
I'll just throw in
Interesting
random
fact.
fucking facts.
Are we talking to
excellent
next week?
KOH dude.
Wow.
Okay.
Spoiler alert.
Well, that's not really a spoiler because it's
Well,
not the next one, but it's fine.
Oh, true.
Um,
Oh,
Luke, you
surprise,
We lose
motherfucker.
them. We're losing them. Brain
Graham,
machine broke.
Graham, please restart. The robot is failing.
need-
You
All
started to say something, and then you just we watched the IT guy
All
die.
right. All right. We're going to end it here. We're falling into misery. So I just want to say thank you for listening and thank you for the constant support. We appreciate every single fucking one of you. I'm going to ask these guys one last time any questions, concern, things that you want to talk about before the podcast is over? Nope.
What
All
happened
right.
to
It was
our
3
IT
seconds.
guy?
That's all you needed. Fuck the IT guy.
Bebop.
Anyways,
What?
please
He
feel
Luke's not
free-
the IT guy.
please feel free to follow us on Instagram and like us on Facebook. We are Blue Collar Off-Road Podcast. On both of those, we would greatly appreciate that. Reach out with any questions or concerns. We are more than happy to answer them. If you're interested in coming on the podcast and because you're a listener, then fucking feel free. If you're not interesting, though, don't fucking ask because we're going to tell you no. If you're interesting, we might consider it.
Whoa.
Oh,
There's like a
joke. It was
level,
a joke.
right?
It was a joke.
It was a joke. Okay.
Oh yeah. I'll probably
You don't have to be
anything else.
super interesting.
Aggressive.
No,
That was
just
so aggressive.
You just have to have cool opinions, and it doesn't have to be like cool in our opinion, just like cool in general. Like you can have a different
Yeah.
opinion and it can be cool. And
Yeah,
That's
Or
fun.
cool stories. That's
you
cool too.
know, I think
Yeah.
some of the stuff that we've covered in the past, like some of the greatest people we've had on has not been because they've had the coolest rig. You know, they could have a cookie cutter rig, but if they run that cookie cutter rig across the country, it's awesome. Granted, there are people like, Sam, Nick, Chris, and Dwight where they've got cool rigs that they do stupid shit with, but we also really like to have the conversations with just about anyone about anything.
Yeah, it's just fun
including pinkies.
talking to regular dudes who have an off-road rig. It's always fun. So
On that note, let's see. Keep your IT guy properly booted up because apparently they randomly shut off. Make sure to check your PCM grounds, and we'll talk to you next time.
And keep your pinkies out. You could have fucking perfectly said that.
no,
Ah.
Keep
Big
it
sad.
fancy, motherfucker.
keep it fancy.